Right now, right now. 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 Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We've got to add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the government has been. Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto Live. This is your weekday morning show where we bring you the latest and everything Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about how Bitcoin has rallied to fresh highs despite the fact that we saw a major round of bearish economic indicators coming out yesterday. Yes, over the last 24 hours, Bitcoin has rallied to a September high, and we're going to be talking about whether or not this is the beginning of something major to the upside, or if this is simply a bull trap that is going to end up being something that you will have wished you had shorted. Welcome to Coffee and Crypto. My name is Jeb McAfee. I am coming to you from Florida right now, and I'm very excited to bring you today's show because we're going to be talking about where Bitcoin has been, where Bitcoin is, and where Bitcoin is going next. Thank you so very much for joining me in studio today. Let's go ahead and read chat here. We've got Joe Bollier in chat. Who was first? Said good morning, Jeb. Good morning to you as well. Michael Parsons in chat. Said good morning, Jeb. James Sachs is in chat. Said hello, mate. Good to see you, James. Being BTC Crypto Alerts in chat. Crypto Mini Bike in chat. Alex Nybo in chat. Dan Nolan in chat said, good morning. It's time to make the crypto. Queens in chat. Robert Kehoe in chat. TJ's Chicken Salad. Man, we're getting a little bit of a cameo from the BitBoy team over here. TJ's Chicken Salad is in chat. Sean O'Brien said, hey. Michael Parsons said, we want Jeb right now. Good to see you, Michael Parsons. Dan Nolan said, right now. Deep Divers in chat. Good to see you. Izzy2K said, showtime once again. Cool, crazy, techie dude said, good morning. Buckaroo Tenaventer said, morning all. Keep it coming. Good morning, Jeb. John Stoley 1 said, hi, Jeb. Hope all is well right now. Queen's in chat. Manze Thomas is in chat. PVXX. And then we've also got pancakes and peanut butter. You're a good man. Where Bitcoin going? Let's talk about it. But first, I want to let you guys know that I'm not going to let you know what it is today, but we're working on some things that I think are going to help me to interact with you guys, because that is my favorite part of this entire job that I have here, is being able to interact with you guys. One of my favorite parts of the stream here is being able to read all your names, because I love getting to interact with you guys and meeting you guys. Just making sure my phone's muted there. I love getting to interact with you guys every single morning here on Coffee and Crypto, and I really want to be able to go deeper in that relationship. So got some plans, got some ideas for that. Silent is in chat. Shadrack Frost is in chat. Jeremy Shorter's in chat. Thank you guys for your continued support over the years at this point. Really appreciate it. All right, let's go ahead and jump onto the chart. As you can see, Bitcoin has gone through 3 consecutive green days, not the band, green candlesticks. And in that time, Bitcoin has rallied quite substantially. In fact, in that time, Bitcoin has rallied nearly $2,000 from bottom to top, $1,851 in the span of under 3 days. We discussed multiple levels yesterday that are significant, and you can even see that there is a trade that we set up yesterday that you could have executed and you would have made some money on if you used our principles of trading. These levels that we're looking at right here are based on multiple different highs and lows that we've witnessed over the last several weeks. We see a level right here at 26,000. That's obviously an important level. It's a big even. We see another level right here around 26.3. That is largely due to these levels back over here and this level right here. And then we have a level right here at 26,543 right there, and that level is very crucial because that level is the level that we have just broken. Now, we're actually back below it again, but I gave you a trade setup idea yesterday. Remember, these are always ideas, but I gave you an idea of a trade setup if we were to break above that level. You also will remember that I recommend a 0.1% trailing stop loss. So if you had have traded this and entered here, exited there, you have gone through the 0.1% trailing stop loss, you would have made 0.54%. So there you go. Those are those principles of trading. in action. I understand on some exchanges you're going to have to do that a little bit manually, but you ought to be watching your trades like a hawk anyway, so it shouldn't make that big of a difference if you're watching it manually. All right, so let's talk a little bit about where Bitcoin has been in the last 24 hours. It has rallied along with the other altcoins. Ethereum is up 1.9%, XRP is up 1%, BNB up 0.6%, Cardano up 0.7%. Seeing Cardano down at a quarter, this is what Cardano's worth right now. Gosh, get that out of here. Let's try some cryptocurrency instead. Seeing Cardano at a quarter is very, very sad. Dogecoin, much higher than it should be. Solana sitting at $18.89. Tron sitting at 8 cents. Toncoin sitting at $1.89. Not quite sitting at 2, which would be pretty funny. Polygon sitting at 50 cents. Litecoin sitting at 62.88. Litecoin was one of the first altcoins ever created. The Litecoin chain forked from Bitcoin about 10 years ago. I bought my first cryptocurrency, which was Litecoin, about a quarter of a Litecoin, when it was worth $41.02. I want to say it was August the 1st, August the 2nd, somewhere in there, of 2017. Yes, it's been that long. Over 6 years ago now. Bought my first cryptocurrency. Wild. It's been a wild journey. Absolutely crazy journey. All right, let's continue on here. Where do we go from here? The thing that I want to remind you guys of is that we did just see a very important piece of data drop yesterday, and that was CPI completely dogleg to the upside. We had seen it drop all the way down to 3%, then it moved up to 3.2%. As of now, it's rallied all the way up to 3.7%. The reason that that is a concern is because seeing inflation go up quite simply means that you expect the effective federal funds rate to go up as well, because you expect the Fed to be more hawkish on raising interest rates to get inflation under control, because they care about getting inflation under control because that's part of their dual mandate. Low unemployment, low inflation. Those two things often counteract each other, so the Fed has to balance this seesaw where they keep unemployment low and inflation low at the same time. Very high inflation can drive low unemployment, and vice versa. High unemployment can drive low inflation, but you want to be very careful about sending one too far to the downside for the other to go up. Unemployment is very, very low right now. Inflation is going up, so that does lead the Fed to the conclusion that, hey, maybe we need to keep interest rates higher than they have been. We need to keep interest rates high longer, or on the flip side, maybe we need to raise interest rates even more. And so that's why when we look over at FedWatch, we're going to have to pay close attention to what it says, because FedWatch here is predicting with a 97% likelihood that we're going to see no change. We're going to see another Fed rate pause. I'm not sure I'm convinced by that, because I do believe that the CPI is going to end up moving to the upside quite substantially. All right, but let's continue on here, and let's talk a little bit about the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency market. Again, thank you guys all for tuning in. Michael Parsons says, lol, Jeb chucked the quarter. Yeah, let's get some Bitcoin. Love it. I'm not, the US dollar, I prefer cryptocurrency. For my investments, I definitely don't think this is good. Like, think about this. Like, here, I got a few of them. I got a few of these little grimy things. Here, where, I got another one. Here, look, I got $1 right here. There we go. You see this? I have to spend, like, one of these things to transact that internationally. And then once you've transacted internationally, normally, you're probably going to have to pay about one of them in tax, and you got, like, 2 of them left. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but that's about what you have to do with dollars and with other currencies. Why not adopt a better system overall? All right, so let's talk a little bit about Bitcoin, and let's talk about its new monthly high. Bitcoin has gone through a major rally, and I'm excited about that. And I want to ask the question, can that continue? Well, let's analyze the facts here. First and foremost, Bitcoin has rallied all the way up to $26,457 on the 7th of September. From there, Bitcoin has actually managed to recapture fresh highs above that 3 times. This rally here on Tuesday the 12th was a fresh high for the month, because this rally happened at the tail end of August. By the time September rolled around, we were already trading sub 26. This was a fresh high for the month. This was an equivalent high for the month, except it was on candle bodies. Now we've rallied up to this level once again this morning. This is encouraging, because Bitcoin took a flash crash right here, and then very shortly thereafter, we saw CPI come out with a 0.5% hike, basically what we were expecting. We were expecting 3.5 to 3.7. We got 3.7 because of that gasoline data that we talked about. From there, Bitcoin managed to go into another rally. So how cool is that? Bitcoin actually broke below its downtrending level of support right here. threatened to go through a major crash below 25. We actually briefly fell below $25,000. Our local bottom is 24,891. Then we managed to rally all the way up here. That is very, very, very encouraging. And the reason that's so encouraging is because Bitcoin has gone through two major bearish events. First and foremost, we set a fresh bear cycle low, and we've also had a drop following the CPI data coming out. Bitcoin has managed to shrug off of all of those, and FTX liquidating. It's managed to shrug off all of that and continue rallying. That leads me to the conclusion that we need to take a potential rally relatively soon quite seriously. If Bitcoin is able to shrug off all of that bearish if Bitcoin is able to shrug off all of those bearish forces, that's what I'm trying to say. If Bitcoin is able to shrug off all of those bearish forces, then that gives us some more confidence that, well, maybe Bitcoin will be able to go through a major rally to the upside, break above this downtrending level of resistance right here, and end up moving farther north. To do so, you would have to go through a couple of trades to get there. First and foremost, we have this trade that we set up yesterday. This trade is still relevant. We've actually fallen below it, so this trade is right back in play. If you want to go into it, you can. What I would recommend is ensuring that you have a 0.1% trailing stop loss to protect yourself basically at all times. Pretty much never go lower than that, and also keep in mind that you have to beat the trading fees, which a lot of times can end up being 0.01, 0.02, 0.03%, depending on what exchange you're on. So you want to make sure that you've got that trailing stop loss there, at least to cover yourself from a fee perspective. And you also want to make sure that if you're entering a trade, why not look at it down on like the minute chart and see what the little short-term trend is? Because in 5 or 10 minutes, you can move 0.1%. So it's not a bad idea if you're entering a trade on that tight a stop loss to look down at the 1 minute chart and see, okay, are we in this kind of trend or are we in this kind of trend? Right here, you probably wouldn't want to enter a trade even if we're strictly at the level. You might want to wait a little bit until we break above local highs and then enter that trade. You got to adjust things as you go. Trading is never as simple as saying, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to make money. No, it takes a little bit more skill and patience than that. One of the things that we're going to be wanting to watch out for right now on the minute chart is this downtrend right here. You've got all the scalpers down there saying, hey, look, Bitcoin might be about to break bullish out of that. Let's go ahead and put a long in right here. Bitcoin has broken bullish above that short-term downtrend. That's very encouraging. Again, we're on the minute chart right now. The MACD has crossed bullish. RSI flipped above 50. So short term, Bitcoin's looking good. Looking at Lux Algo, you can see that we're under sell pressure, but we've also just broken above the trend catcher, and we're sitting up here in the stop losses for the sell signal that we saw at 10:04 about 9 minutes ago. So we could be about to see a rally on Bitcoin based on that data. Would not be surprising at all, especially if Bitcoin is able to break above this level right here at 26,629. If you're doing scalping, if you're just down there on those very short-term time frames, then you're probably going to be looking at the minute chart quite a lot. This is how you'd go about doing it. You look at the technical analysis just like you would anywhere else. You say, okay, I perceive that there is bullish momentum. We're setting significantly higher highs, higher lows. We're pushing up quickly to levels of resistance. We've broken a downtrend. We have bullish MACD, bullish RSI. If we look on the Lux Algo down here, you can see we're in the stop loss for this sell signal. Okay, great. Bitcoin potentially could be about to go through some kind of little rally down there on the minute chart. Whether it will or not, we'll find out. That's what stop losses are there to protect you from. But the question I really want to unpack in today's episode of Coffee and Crypto Live is whether or not Bitcoin is going to be able to break above a much more significant downtrend. And that downtrend is this one right here. Can Bitcoin break above this downtrend? And I believe that the answer to that is yes. But before we really start to unpack that, the first thing we have to do is remember the current landscape of where we are in the market. The first thing I want you guys to remember is the state of the global economy and the state of the economy as it relates to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Starting with the global economy. First and foremost, there is a massive and major war between Russia and Ukraine right now that has shut down global trade in many different categories. We've seen a huge reduction in oil coming out of the Russian space. We've seen a massive reduction in wheat, sunflower oil, and other agricultural commodities coming out of Ukraine and also, of course, out of Russia because Russia's embargoed and you can barely trade anything in the Black Sea right now, which is where most of their deep water ports are to export those kinds of materials and commodities to market. You've seen a massive reduction in natural gas as well. The LNG is not flowing the way that it was. You look at the iron. The amount of iron and steel that used to come out of Russia and Ukraine was enormous. That's almost completely dried up. And the main reason for that is because they're at war, and that's probably not going to end anytime soon. At the same time, you're seeing huge humanitarian crises over there with the rupture of the dam. If you guys aren't familiar, there is the Novokakhovka Dam was blown up by the Russians. Let me just see if I can find a picture of that for you. This is completely decimated southeastern Ukraine. This dam was blown up by the Russians. You can see right here. That is an enormous amount of water. There's a flood map here where you can see the amount of flooding that took place from the destruction of the Novokakhovka Dam. At the same time that the Novokakhovka Dam was destroyed, you've also seen that the canal that brought water to Crimea now is above the level of the river because it was fed by the reservoir behind the Novokakhovka Dam. So the reservoir that was bringing water to all of Crimea and much of southeastern Ukraine is now a dry canal bed, riverbed, lake bed, canal bed. It's now a dry canal bed, and all of Crimea just lost like 90% of their fresh water. The entire Black Sea region is reverting back to nature right now. So that's one of the factors that we need to keep in mind on the geopolitical stage. There's also quite a lot of unrest and tension between the Chinese and the Taiwanese. That is very significant because at any point, Xi Jinping, who is an absolute lunatic, could launch a war on Taiwan. I saw an interesting report recently about Taiwan's counter strategy. If you've ever heard of the Three Gorges Dam, the Three Gorges Dam is the largest dam on the planet by a massive amount. It's large enough that it actually affected the rotation of the Earth by a very small margin, but a measurable margin because of all of the movement of concrete into that one area. The Taiwanese have basically a mutually assured destruction plan to launch like every single missile they have at that dam and flood 300 million people. Obviously, China would retaliate with nuclear weapons, but my point is that could erupt at any point. Xi Jinping is just crazy enough, just old enough, and not that being old means that you're loony, but I think he's kind of going in one of those directions where he's just not thinking very clearly. He's already been running a cult of personality state for a very long time. He can't get any information. The dude could launch a war on Taiwan at any moment just because the Taiwanese tick him off somehow. Much more crazy than Vladimir Putin, and that's saying something. So that's something that business around the world has to have to keep in mind, is that, wait a second, our supply chains over in the Southeastern Asia could be completely shut down at any point. Any kind of processing, material processing, any kind of industry coming out of China could disappear overnight. That's a concern that businesses around the world have to face. Other concerns. I'm not even going to get into this one as much. I haven't researched this one as much yet, so I don't want to get into it as much. Afghanistan and Iran could be going to war soon. That's something to keep in mind. That would be horrible. We don't need any more war in the world, but that would impact potentially shipping in the Persian Gulf. The Persian Gulf supplies, I want to say, a quarter of the world's crude oil, a lot of it going to China. If you have Iran and Afghanistan get into a war, that could bring too much conflict into the region for tankers to want to export oil from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, massively impacting gas prices, sending them much farther to the upside. There's a lot of geopolitical instability right now. Let's just say that. So that's kind of the global perspective. Let's talk about the economy as it impacts Bitcoin. Unemployment in the United States is very low right now. Consumer price index is continuing to creep up. We are seeing that the effective federal funds rate is high. We are in a state right now where the stock market is growing, but it's also being suppressed by the high interest rates. The majority of the stock market is driven by companies that grow based on taking out debt. Companies take out debt to fund expansion operations. And when they do take out that debt to fund expansion operations, they have to pay interest on that debt. Because that's how debt works. That's why you loan someone money unless you're doing it out of the goodness of your heart and you don't charge them any interest. You do it because you generate interest. That's what the banks do. And so if you are a business that's trying to expand using debt or using angel investing or any kind of investment, anything that involves debt and interest, it's much harder for you to get that money right now. It slows down your growth. And that's really the point. That's why the Fed raises the interest rates to slow down growth, because growth is one of the things that drives inflation. That also means that you're not getting the same kind of returns in the stock market right now as you would be hoping for. Now, the stock market's also still been doing very well. But you're not seeing people invest in riskier investments like tech stocks as much as they were. You're not seeing them invest in startups as much as they were. There's also, of course, the demographical concern. The Gen Z generation is significantly smaller than the millennials. The millennials are getting to be, this seems strange to say, but the millennials are getting to be old and a little bit out of touch. I'm 23. I'm the oldest Gen Zer. I am the oldest Zoomer. And I feel a little bit out of touch every once in a while. I'm like, man, what are these kids these days doing on this TikTok thing over here? Like, I feel out of touch. Now, maybe I just have an old soul, but my point is the millennial, the larger generation, are getting to the point where they're not working 80 or 90 hours a week in tech anymore. They've got 3 kids and a family. They want to work 40, that's it. They want to clock out at 5, and they want to go on vacation for 2 or 3 weeks a year. They're not contributing to the economic growth in the same way that they were, at least as far as in the the kinds of startups, the kind of risky investments that you typically see young 20-year-olds doing. You're not seeing as much of that out of the millennials. There's not as many Zoomers to do it. And Zoomers also, statistically, seem much more likely to be more antisocial in their room, playing video games on their phone, maybe being social media influencers, not going out and trying to start a tech startup in Silicon Valley. So that's slowing down riskier investment in the United States. That's leading to this overall, how shall I say? That's leading to this overall apprehension about investing in things that are perceived as more risky. The United States goes through cycles like this. This is something that John Bogle experienced when he was founding Vanguard. There's a whole mix-up over there. He came on as the assistant at a certain investment bank, investment company, and then he ended up inheriting the company. Then there was a takeover. Then he was put in charge of the president of what would later become Vanguard. And as he was growing Vanguard on the back of offering index funds, basically slow and steady wins the race kind of deal, there were seasons where he would be very popular because people didn't want risky investments and they wanted slow and steady wins the race. And there were seasons where they wanted, I'm going to get rich quick. I want to double my money in 3 months. And then he wasn't very popular during that time. The 2010s were kind of that, I'm going to get rich quick. I'm going to go make $100,000 a day. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that. The Shopify ads were everywhere. Facebook Marketplace was everywhere. Drop shipping was everywhere. Amazon FBA was everywhere. Crypto was everywhere. Everybody wanted to go make $100,000 a day, right? Forget $100 a day. Everybody wanted to make $100,000 a day. And people did. Then the pandemic hit. Then the war in Ukraine hit. Then the demographics started to shift in the direction that they're going. And the brakes got hit. The brakes got hit on a lot of that. And so now we're in one of those cycles where we're starting as a public to move more in the direction of slow and steady wins the race. Slow and steady wins the race. And so we're just going to invest in stocks and we're going to chill. We're going to do this. We've been working our tail off for 15 years. We're going to max out our Roth IRA because they just increased the limits. And then we're going to rest. And then if things ever get interesting again, then we'll go try to make $100,000 a day. But right now, that's not really the way the market is. So all of that tying into Bitcoin. How does that all tie into Bitcoin and the new monthly high that we just set? And where do we go from here? First things first, geopolitics, as has been the fact for the last 3 years or so, are exceptionally unstable. They're sitting on a knife's edge, and something could break at any moment that could send the markets into a tailspin. On top of that, the zeitgeist in the United States and the state of the demographical side of things and the state of the economy leads people to this more apprehensive state where they're not wanting to just go dump their life savings into Dogecoin, thank God. And instead they're saying, let's just pay off debt. Let's do like the Dave Ramsey style of getting rich, which there's nothing wrong with, being debt free. That's a good thing. But that's kind of where they want to focus, is like I'm going to buy index funds. I'm going to chill. I'm going to take it easy. I've been grinding for the last 10 years. Now I realize, hey, look, I can work from home. This is cool. I'm going to spend more time with my family. That's a good thing, right? We can all get behind that. They're also saying, let's just kind of do this whole, I'm going to get rid of debt. I'm going to invest in the stock market. I'm going to slow and steady wins the race kind of deal. And I'm going to kind of hold off a little bit on the more riskier investments. Both of those things are net negatives for Bitcoin. And I don't mean to be a perma bear. I simply want you guys to understand that Bitcoin is facing that right now. And I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing either, though. And that's what I want to talk about. I don't think that those are bad things. I think that despite all of that, despite the fact that we just saw Dixie climb. By the way, Dixie just hit like a 6 or 7 month high. Despite the Dixie hitting a 6 or 7 month high, despite the stock market opening bearish today, despite global affairs being substantially less stable than we would like, despite the world being in potentially one of the most unstable positions that it's been in since the late 1980s, despite the state of the attitude towards investment in the United States, despite all of that, despite the bearish CPI print, Bitcoin rallied. These are the moments that I think are telling. When Bitcoin does the exact opposite of what it's supposed to do, that's when something special happens. By all accounts, the United States of America, and by the way, I'm not speaking morally here, I'm speaking practically, should never have won the Revolutionary War. I said that one time. My dad said, "What? What'd you say?" He didn't yell, but he's like, "You did what? What do you mean we shouldn't have won?" I'm like, no. I'm not saying morally we shouldn't have won the Revolutionary War. I'm saying there's no possible way that we ever should have beat the largest army and the largest navy all at once. Period. I don't care if you're across an ocean. Should have never happened. It should never have happened. Again, I'm not saying morally. I love our country, and I'm glad we're a free country. Not saying that. I'm saying practically, how in the world did we pull that off? We forget about that because it happened a quarter of a millennia ago. But it happened. How? Because there was something real. Because there was something real. Because there was something to believe in, to fight for in the founding of our country. For the ideas of freedom. And obviously they wouldn't be fully discovered for 150 years, but the idea was there, right? There's still slavery, but the idea was there. Let's fight for freedom, right? Let's fight for low taxes. Wow, we forgot about that one, didn't we? I just got a bill in the mail the other day. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to be raising your property tax by $3,000 a year. I said, gee, thanks. Where do I vote against that one? I don't get political on the channel. You guys still to this day have no idea who I vote for. I think that's so hilarious. With how much I talk about the world, you guys still have no clue who I vote for. That's so funny to me that you still have no idea. That being said, I will tell you this. I am definitely small government. So if that means that you think I support one candidate or the other coming up in the election, be my guest and go right ahead and speculate. I'm definitely small government. I'll definitely tell you that. That aligns very closely with my beliefs in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Like I said, we forgot about the low taxes part of thing, or at least the taxation without representation kind of deal, because we've still got some of that. We've got a regulation without representation. How about that? Anyway, why did the United States win that war when, by all accounts, there's no way we ever should have been able to? Because there was something to believe in. What's your point, Jeb? Why is Bitcoin winning despite everything fighting against it? The instability in the global markets leading to companies not being interested in investing in risk-on assets because they don't know whether they're going to have raw iron for their steel mills to build their office buildings next month. Why is Bitcoin rallying despite CPI going up? Why is Bitcoin rallying despite Dixie going up when it should be going down because Dixie's going up? They're very closely inversely correlated. Why is Bitcoin rallying despite the stock market doing what it's not supposed to be doing? Those are questions that we as analysts need to ask. And I think the answer is very simple. I think that something might be going on right now in Bitcoin. I think something might be fundamentally shifting. I've got a nose for this, guys. I've been doing this for almost 7 years now. Been in the cryptocurrency market, not almost 7 years, a little over 6 years. I got into the cryptocurrency market July 31st, 2017. So that's 6 years, 2 months, 6 years, 3 months or so. That's probably longer than some of the younger viewers of this channel that are watching with their moms and dads have been alive. I've been here for a while, and I have this knack for being able to smell when something's changing. And I sniff out very clearly that something is changing right now on Bitcoin. Let's read chat for a little while. Oh, man. Everybody's trying to guess my politics now. Lyndon Juden Kelly said, Bitcoin, believe in the coin, own it now. Hashtag Bitcoin. I like that. I like that. Real question is, what kind of shows and movies does Jeb like watching? That's a good question. That's a good question. You guys can go ahead and speculate on that. What's my favorite movie? I'll tell you one of my favorite movies recently. It was The Sound of Freedom. We went and watched Sound of Freedom. That movie was incredible. That movie was a tearjerker. It was emotional. It was grounding. It was real. And it was one of the greatest movies I've ever seen made. It was a very, very sad movie. It had kind of a happy ending. But of course, it's not a happy ending because it's real, and that stuff still happens. If any of you guys have seen that movie, you know what I'm talking about. Horrible, 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 horrible part of our world. Definitely a movie that I thought brought a lot of awareness to that. So that's a movie I saw recently. Gone with the Wind. Dun, 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 dun. Sorry, had to. All right, Star Wars. I do like Star Wars. I used to be a huge nerd on Star Wars. That's true. Something is changing right now. Shadrach Frost said, #buy the dip. All right, so with Bitcoin moving here, how do we take advantage of this? Well, the first thing to keep in mind is that Bitcoin is moving right now. Has broken bullish above that downtrend. We talked about potentially trades down here on the 1-minute chart. Bitcoin has gone ahead and done what we talked about it probably would do. It did break to the upside. There's this uptrend I perceive right here. Can Bitcoin hold it or not? We shall see. If it can, then great. Bitcoin, of course, is going to need to break above its local high. Send this hourly candlestick higher. And then if it's able to do that, then, of course, Bitcoin will probably be able to go into a bigger uptrend. Looking on the daily chart, we do have what seems to be a 3 white soldiers formation coming. We have a white soldier right here, a white soldier right here, white soldier right here. It's not quite a perfect 3 white soldiers formation because they are slightly different sizes and they do have small candle wicks on the bottom. But I would classify this as a 3 white soldiers formation. Those are typically very bullish formations. They show 3 consecutive days or 3 consecutive candles, whatever the interval may be, of bullishness, roughly equal, meaning that there is real movement to the upside. You also see a very small, but definitely there, bullish engulfing candlestick formation. Yeah, that's not small. Look how tall that thing is. No, as far as the engulfing is very small. But we did also see this large wick. So that's absolutely a bullish engulfing candlestick formation. A couple of other things I want you to keep in mind are the moving averages. Here you can see the 200 daily moving average right above us, sitting right above us. Very important moving average. That's a moving average that has been substantial in the history of Bitcoin for years. Even going back to when I got into the cryptocurrency market and Bitcoin was going parabolic, pushing up towards 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, it played a critical role there. When we broke below the 200 interval moving average recently, that was a sign for a lot of people that we might be going into a kind of a major bear flag right here that would drop us further to the downside. I am hopeful that that's not what's going to happen, but it is absolutely possible, so we should keep that in mind. I do believe that we're going to be able to see Bitcoin break above the 200 daily SMA at some point, and when it does, I think that's going to be a critical moment in the recent history of Bitcoin that will help Bitcoin move to the upside. Will that happen? I think it will. Whether it's going to happen yet or not is yet to be determined. We are technically still in a downtrend. We have technically not broken that downtrend, so technically we should still bet with the trend. Remember, the trend is your friend until it ends. One of the easiest ways to figure out what the trend is, if you don't know, is by using Lux Algo. You can see here on the daily chart that we are currently still under a sell signal, but the trend catcher has dropped so far that we're actually above the trend catcher now. And if we move much farther to the upside, i.e. probably to $27,000 or so, especially if we manage to break the 200 daily SMA right here, we're going to see a buy signal on Lux Algo, indicating that we are very close to a new uptrend forming on Bitcoin. We're in spitting distance of it, guys. We're not very far away. If Bitcoin is able to rally just several hundred more dollars, then we will likely be able to see Bitcoin have a buy signal coming in on Lux Algo and break to the upside. By the way, if you guys don't know, that was Bonanza Jeb. Yes, I know. I'm sorry. If you guys have not signed up for Lux Algo, you absolutely should. You can use coupon code JEB30, JEBB, 30 for 30% off at checkout. The reason I love Lux Algo is because it's so good at telling you what the market is going to do before it does it, and also telling you how far the market is going to move in general. If you look at this chart here, let me just pull up a chart and I'll show you the daily chart. Just go ahead and clear out one of these charts. If you look at all the confirmed buy signals on Lux Algo over the last little while, there are a couple here that you have to weed out. You still use technical analysis. You don't just ignore TA. But if you look at all the confirmed buy signals, you're going to see that Bitcoin does an exceptional job of giving buy signals that actually profit, especially if you zoom out and use the longer term time frames. especially if you're in a defined trend. Let's just look at some of these. Let's just go back to like mid 2021. This buy signal came into play. Bitcoin would rally 52% before a sell signal came into play. This buy signal came into play. Again, we're looking for ones that are confirmed by trend catcher, meaning trend catcher is green. Bitcoin would rally roughly 51% before a red sell signal came into play. Over here, we saw a buy signal come in with green trend catcher. Bitcoin would rally roughly 20%. Right here, we saw the buy signal come in the same very day, and the next couple of days, therefore, we rallied about 10%. This was a winning trade. This one right here, another example. We ended up rallying 10% from that buy signal. You can see it's a 100% track record so far looking at all this data. The next time we saw a buy signal came into play here on the 10th of January, confirmed the 11th. Market ended up rallying a total of 40% to the sell signal, 32%. Right here, we saw the buy signal come into play. Even if you measure from the end of the candlestick, that's still a 3% gain. It actually came into play somewhere around the middle of the candlestick, meaning you had an 8.18% gain. Here's a buy signal. Trend catcher confirmation to the high, 27% rally. Right here, we get to our first, potentially, you could argue, losing buy signal. Rallied about 2% or so, and then we actually had to drop to get the sell signal. So there you go. Like the 10th one, you get a 2% loss when you're getting 50 and 60% gains on many of the others. Here, we rallied 17.8% on this buy signal. Let's just look at the sell signal too. Sell signal came in, trend catcher came in. Bitcoin dropped 14%. Neither one of these sell signals are actually applicable because this buy signal did not get confirmed with green trend catcher, so it is out, which means that this sell signal is a restatement of this signal, meaning that these two signals can be safely ignored. And this is the only signal to look at right here because trend catcher confirmed it. Bitcoin is currently down 10.4% from there. The point is, Lux Algo does a great job of predicting things. And if we do see a buy signal coming into play on Lux Algo over the next couple of days on the daily chart, I think we're going to see at least a 10% rally. Historically, that's what you see happen, and I'm very excited to be there along with you. Let's read some chat. DCA, a little every payday and you will win, Deep Diver said. Absolutely. That's the way you do it. Really want to help you guys win in cryptocurrency. And one of the best ways to do that is by dollar cost averaging into the markets. Crypto Jeb does this for the love of Bitcoin and his community. God bless my friend. It's so cool that you say that because I was just teaching my son this morning what love is. I think the core of what love is, and you guys can tell me what you think on this, but I think the core of what love is it's the opposite of pride. It's putting others ahead of yourself. It's putting God and your neighbor ahead of yourself. God, well, yes, God, but Jesus says that the essence of the law and the prophets, that being the Old Testament, is love God and love others, love your neighbor. It's love. We put others ahead of ourselves, right? People think that God is this evil God who hates people and he damns people to hell. Like, no, God loves people. And sometimes love doesn't look the way we think it looks because we're not the definers of love. But love in its essence means putting others ahead of yourself. Christ did that. He came to die for us. He put us ahead of him. That's what love is. And I do. I love you guys because I want to put you guys ahead of myself. I want to put my family ahead of myself. And I want to put God ahead of myself. And it's such an interesting life trying to work out what exactly that looks like. But that's where ultimate fulfillment comes from. I know that from firsthand experience that when you put others first, you will end up being a much more fulfilled individual than if you were just walking around putting yourself first at all times. It's one of the reasons having a family is so wonderful because you have people in your own home that you can put first. What's up, Jeb? Are you into the Fast and the Furious? I've never watched Fast. There's like 11 of those movies, aren't there? I've been kind of addicted to Yellowstone, 1883 and 1923 lately. Is that a game? 1883? Oh, 1883. Oh, I know about this. This is about the... 1883 is about the... Gosh, what is this plot movie about? Oh, never mind. I'm not familiar with that. Not familiar with it. Oh, you're talking about a show. Charity is the highest form of love. It's not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It's not irritable. It does not demand its own way. Her daughter's named after 1 Corinthians 13. It's a show. I see. Well, Javier says, good to see you back in the studio, Jeb. Good to see you. Crypto Mini Bike said that was Bonanza, Jeb. Yes, I'm sorry. That was. If Jeb doesn't watch VeggieTales, Libraries Kids, and Total Twins, I'll be sad. I've watched VeggieTales like twice. I watched a sermon by the guy that created VeggieTales about how he grew the company and then lost the company. I've watched more about the rise and fall of VeggieTales than I actually have about VeggieTales itself. Interesting story. Gone with the Wind. All right. Again, everybody trying to guess what my vote is. Well, as a Christian, you should be disgusted by Trump. I am disgusted by sin. I tend not to be disgusted by people, but I am disgusted by sin. I'm disgusted by selfishness. I'm disgusted by pride. I'm disgusted by these things in myself first, right? And then, yes, it is very heartbreaking. Might be a better phrase than disgusted, because disgusted has this air of being extremely judgmental. I'm heartbroken, more so I should say, by sin. Whether that's from, people are saying Kanye, whether that's from Trump, whether that's from Clinton, whether that's from Biden, whether that's from anybody. I'm heartbroken by sin from anyone and everyone. Right. So let's read chat just for the last couple of minutes here. Really enjoy talking to all of you guys. Nicholas Fellows said, ¿Qué tal, tío? ¿Qué tal? Muy bien, tío. ¿Qué es tío? ¿Qué es tío? Oh, uncle. Oh, uncle. I knew that. ¿Qué tal, tío? I'm your uncle? What? Crypto Jeb is a libertarian. Prove me wrong, lols. Yeah, I am. I'm more than happy to tell you that, as far as I'm not saying party affiliation, because libertarianism is a party. But I'm definitely all for smaller government and for the government not thinking it's God. Because when you take God out of the state puts itself in God. I'm not saying, excuse me, let me say that differently. When you take God out of the culture, not out of the state. When you take God out of the culture, then the state puts itself as God, and that's a dangerous thing. Okay, so you're heartbroken by Trump. That's fair, since he's the most prideful, selfish person I've seen. Like I said, I'm not going to give you an opinion on Trump. What I will say is that whether it comes from the left, the right, the up, the down, the east, the west, the north, the south, I am heartbroken by sin. And that is the dilemma. That is the dilemma of politics. Excuse me. Is that you have to vote for someone. I guess you don't have to, but you probably should. You have to vote for someone knowing full well that none of them are even close to perfect. And, Jesus isn't in the running. So you gotta, yeah, it's hard. Politics is very difficult. I used to be so bent out of shape on politics. And then as I started to grow closer to, as I met the Lord, and as I started to grow closer to the Lord, I really adopted that heart posture of, wow, this is not a left or right thing. This is a sin versus holiness thing. And there is so much wrong on both sides. And more importantly, in my own heart, that what am I doing here sitting, acting like the left is perfect or the right is perfect, when they're both super flawed? And we've really got to figure out who's the closest to the right, I guess. That's a difficult state of affairs, and that's why I don't get as bent out of shape about it as I used to, because ultimately it's a diversion from the real problem. We want to blame everything on the government. We want to sit around and criticize the government or sit around and criticize politicians. You know, a study found that that's one of the things people find the most enjoyable in life, is to sit around and criticize the government. It's fun. We've all done it. What I will say is, it's not the government's fault. It's not the politicians' fault. It's everybody's fault. It's sin. It's wrong. It's immorality in our world. That's what we need to champion against. And the way we champion against that, by the way, is not by calling out everybody else's sin. It's by getting right ourselves and being salt and light. So that's just there towards the end of the show for any of you guys who wants to hear my soapbox on that, I suppose. Deep Diver said, y'all have an awesome day. Diver down. Boom. Good to see you, Diver. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Wei Wang says, T.O. means mate, fellow, or guy. Cool. All right, guys. I do appreciate all of you for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's stream, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Make sure to stay tuned for more updates on where the market is and where the market is going. Like I said, I want to thank each and every... I thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned. We got some cool announcements coming up. Before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling. Got a real good feeling.